Master scolded me, frustrated. You good for nothing if you like her, just go for it. I had a sudden realization. That night, I used the immortal binding rope to tie up the aloof and unattainable her. The aloof holy ruler cursed all night. Finally, her voice hoarse. From today onwards, you're not allowed to call me master anymore. I leaned close to her reddened earlobe and softly asked, Then, wife, waste, how could I have taught you to be such a good-for-nothing? The icy voice was like a sword quenched with deadly poison, piercing deeply into my heart. Before me, high upon a throne of ice crystals, sat my master, also the sect master of this profound heaven sect, Lin Qinghan. She wore white robes, whiter than snow, her face peerless, her temperament so aloof, as if she were an immortal who didn't eat worldly food. But at this moment, her crystal-like eyes were filled with anger born of frustration. Your inner demons are plaguing you. Your cultivation hasn't improved in 10 years. Do you know why? I lower my head, not daring to look at her. Of course, I know my inner demon is you. Speak, she shouted sharply. The temperature in the entire hall seemed to drop to freezing point. I trembled all over, my scalp tingling. Disciple doesn't know. Lin Qinghan chuckled coldly, her tone full of disappointment. 10 years, and you still can't see through why your Tao heart is unstable. What are you even cultivating immortality for? What Tao are you achieving? She stood up and walked towards me step by step, the oppressive pressure almost suffocating me. Chen Yuan, I'll ask you one more time. Are you in love with someone? My heartbeat suddenly stopped. She knows? Impossible. I've hidden it so well. I suddenly looked up, meeting her probing gaze, and instantly lowered my head again, feeling guilty. No. Still dare to lie. Lin Qinghan laughed in anger. Do you think your little thoughts could deceive anyone? Look at your hopeless appearance. If you like her, then go pursue her. Go fight for her. Go snatch her. Cowering and shrinking back. What kind of man is that? What kind of disciple of Lin Qinghan am I? I taught you the supreme sword art, so you could cut down all injustices in the world, not so you wouldn't even dare to face your own heart. Her words were like bolts of lightning, exploding in my mind. If I like her, go pursue her. Go fight for her. Go snatch her. I stared blankly at her cheeks that were slightly flushed with anger, at her red lips that opened and closed, uttering icy words. A crazy idea, like a wildfire, instantly burned through my entire body. So, that's what she meant. She's not scolding me. She's enlightening me. She wants me to stop suppressing myself. I had a sudden realization. Disciple. Understands. I said in a hoarse voice. Seeing that I seemed to have taken it in, Lin Qinghan's expression softened slightly, and she sat back on the throne, coldly saying, If you understand, then go to the back mountain to reflect. Come out when you've figured out. Yes. I respectfully bowed and turned to leave the hall. But from an angle she couldn't see, the corners of my mouth curved into a smile she had never seen before. That night, I didn't go to the back mountain. Instead, I crushed a communication jade slip and contacted the most mysterious organization in the cultivation world, the Wanla Pavilion. I wanted top-of-the-line immortal binding rope. No matter how strong the cultivation, once bound by it, spiritual power will be lost within an hour, no different from an ordinary person. Master, this is what you taught me. If you like her, just go for it. The moon was dark and the wind was high. I silently sneaked into my master's bedroom. Lin Qinghan sat cross-legged on the cloud bed, her body surrounded by a faint moonlight, as holy as a jade statue. My heart was pounding. My palms were covered in cold sweat. Calm down. Chen Yuan, you only have one chance. Success means winning the beauty, and from then on, your Tao heart will be clear, and your cultivation will soar. Failure means a terrible death. High risk, high reward. I took a deep breath and held the golden immortal binding rope in the palm of my hand. Now, my figure was as fast as lightning, and I suddenly pounced. Presumptuous. Lin Xinghan's eyes snapped open, and a terrifying pressure instantly erupted, as if it wanted to crush my bones. But it was too late. The moment she raised her hand, the immortal binding rope had already wrapped around her wrist like a living spirit snake, tightening instantly. The terrifying fluctuations of spiritual power around her dissipated in an instant, like a punctured balloon. Lin Xinghan looked at me in disbelief. The first time in 10,000 years that shock and astonishment appeared on her eternally frozen face. Immortal binding rope. Where did you get it from? I didn't answer, but I pressed on, pushing her onto the cloud bed. The soft touch came, and the faint fragrance of her body filled my nose. 10 years. I can finally look at you this close. Chen Yuan, do you know what you are doing? This is deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors. Her voice trembled, half from anger and half from shock. Disciple knows. I lowered my head and stared at her eyes, which were filled with anger, saying each word clearly. But didn't master teach disciple that during the day? If you like her, just go for it. Lin Xinghan's pupils contracted violently. She finally understood what I meant by sudden realization. You rebellious disciple. Madman. She began to struggle violently, but without spiritual power, her strength was no different from that of an ordinary woman. Let go of me, now, otherwise I will tear you to pieces. Looking at her furious appearance, the beast called Inner Demon, and my heart roared with pleasure. I laughed. Master, you've called me a waste for 10 years. Today, let me show you how successful the disciple you taught is. The night was silent, or rather, the night was full of her angry curses. From rebellious disciple to beast to shameless to the extreme. I just listened quietly until dawn. Her voice finally became hoarse, with a hint of powerless sobs. From today onwards, you're not allowed to call me master anymore. Her eyes showed humiliation, anger, but also a hint of unspeakable complexity. I leaned closer to her, almost able to feel the temperature of her earlobe, and whispered in her reddened ear in a voice that only the two of us could hear. Then, wife. Lin Xinghan's body froze. The air was deathly silent. Lin Xinghan's beautiful eyes stared at me fiercely. If looks could kill, I would have been torn apart 1,000 times. Angry? No. She's about to explode, but truly adorable. I leisurely enjoyed the expression on her face, a desire to kill me coupled with an inability to move, and my mood was unusually cheerful. For 10 years, the twisted and repressed feelings in my heart were completely released at this moment. Dalhart, clearer than it could ever be. Get out. She squeezed out a word through gritted teeth, her voice terribly hoarse. I stood up, smoothed out my robes, and smiled. All right, wife. Wait a moment. Your husband will go prepare breakfast for you. After saying that, I turned and left, leaving her alone on the bed, burning 2 holes in my back with her fiery gaze. I had just stepped out of the bedchamber when I bumped into someone. My good senior brother, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was the sect's other personal disciple besides me, with extraordinary talent, and had always looked down on me, this waste whose cultivation has stagnated. He saw me coming out of the master's bedchamber, and was first stunned, then his face revealed undisguised disdain. Chen Yuan, weren't you punished to reflect in the back mountain? Why are you here? He sized me up, his eyes like he was looking at a cockroach crawling out of a garbage heap. Early in the morning, coming out of the master's bedchamber. Huh, are you here to beg the master for mercy again? Truly spineless. I couldn't be bothered with him. Just a dog that can only bark. Once I've completely got the master sorted out, I'll deal with you first. Seeing that I didn't speak, Zhao Feng assumed I was feeling guilty and became even more triumphant. He cleared his throat and bowed respectfully to the door of the bedchamber, announcing loudly, Disciple Zhao Feng, come to greet the master. Inside, there was no response. Zhao Feng frowned and raised his voice again. Master, are you there? Disciple Zhao Feng seeks an audience. Still dead silence. This time, Zhao Feng's face changed. He looked at me suspiciously, his eyes sharp. Chen Yuan, why isn't the master responding? You, did you do something to the master? I spread my hands, looking innocent. Senior brother is joking. What could I do to the master? Oomph. I doubt you have the guts. Zhao Feng snorted coldly, but the suspicion in his eyes didn't dissipate. He walked around me, sniffing, and suddenly his face changed. On you, why is there the scent of the master's ice heart orchid? The ice heart orchid was incense that the master used year-round, with a very faint scent that could only be picked up at close range. My heart skipped a beat. I was careless. Zhao Feng's eyes instantly became sinister. Good, Chen Yuan. You actually dared to sneak into the master's bedchamber while you were supposed to be reflecting. This is a capital offense. He suddenly reached out, his 5 fingers forming a claw, striking at my shoulder with a fierce gust of wind. Come with me to the discipline hall. If this claw landed solidly, half my body would be crippled. However, just as his hand was about to touch me, I moved. I didn't dodge. Instead, I also reached out and grabbed his wrist. Zhao Feng's face changed. He felt like his wrist was being clamped tightly by a pair of iron tongs, unable to break free. A hint of horror flashed in his eyes. Your strength. Senior brother. I looked at him, speaking slowly, my voice quiet, but carrying an unprecedented chill. Food can be eaten indiscriminately, but words cannot be spoken carelessly. Get lost. I flicked my wrist, and a surge of immense force erupted. Zhao Feng groaned, staggering back 7 or 8 steps, falling on his backside in a disheveled state. He clutched his numb wrist, his face filled with disbelief. You dare to hit me? Chen Yuan, you're dead. I'm going to report to the enforcement elder that you broke into the master's bedchamber and attacked a superior. He got up from the ground, glared at me with resentment, and turned to run. I watched his fleeing figure, my eyes calm. Go ahead, the more people you call, the better. I want to see, today, who can touch me. Zhao Feng was very efficient. In less than the time it takes to burn an incense stick, he led the discipline hall's enforcement elder, along with a large group of disciples, back in a menacing manner. The leading enforcement elder was a dark-faced old man, known for his iron-fisted impartiality, and looked at me like he was looking at a dead man. Chen Yuan, the elder shouted sternly. Zhao Feng has reported that you broke into the sect leader's bedchamber and injured a fellow disciple. Is this true? The surrounding disciples immediately erupted in an uproar, pointing and gossiping about me. Heavens, is he crazy? He dared to break into the sect leader's bedchamber. He's really lusting for trouble. He's dead for sure this time. I knew he wasn't a good person long ago. His cultivation hasn't improved in 10 years, so it turns out his mind was focused on these crooked ways. Zhao Feng stood behind the elder, a look of gloating on his face. Keep acting. You'll be the one crying later. I remained calm, bowing and saying, reporting to the elder, this disciple did not break in. It was the master who summoned me for questioning. Nonsense. Zhao Feng immediately jumped out. The master punished you to reflect in the back mountain. How could she summon you? You're clearly feeling guilty. The enforcement elder's face darkened. Chen Yuan, you still dare to quibble. Men, seize him. 2 enforcement disciples immediately stepped forward, ready to grab me. I stood still, not moving, just raising my voice. Master, disciple Chen Yuan is being falsely accused. Please, master, do justice for me. My voice contained a trace of spiritual power, clearly entering the bedchamber. Zhao Feng sneered. Don't waste your breath. The master must have been harmed by you, this rebellious disciple. And now... Before he could finish his words, creak, a sound. The door to the bedchamber slowly opened. Lin Qinghan stood prettily at the doorway, dressed in white, but her face was somewhat pale, and her expression was extremely cold. The entire scene instantly became deathly silent. Everyone looked at her in astonishment. The enforcement elder and Zhao Feng were even more wide-eyed. Master, Zhao Feng stammered. You're all right. Lin Qinghan's gaze swept across the entire scene, the cold gaze making everyone shiver. Finally, Her gaze landed on the enforcement elder. Elder Wang, you've brought so many people to surround my Qinghan Peak. Are you planning to rebel? The calm tone carried an undeniable authority. Elder Wang shuddered in fear and hurriedly bowed. Sect leader, please calm your anger. This subordinate wouldn't dare. It was Zhao Feng who said that Chun Yuan broke into your bedchamber at night and was also harming you. We were worried about the sect leader's safety, so... Nonsense. Lin Qinghan coldly interrupted him. Last night, Chun Yuan was in the hall on my orders, protecting me. How could there be talk of breaking in? What? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Zhao Feng was even more like he had been struck by lightning, completely stunned. Impossible. Master, he clearly. Are you questioning me? Lin Qinghan's eyes instantly became incredibly dangerous. This disciple wouldn't dare. Zhao Feng was scared out of his wits, and he felt his knees with a thud. He couldn't understand, completely couldn't understand. Why would Master speak up for this good-for-nothing? Could it be? A chilling thought surfaced in his mind. Lin Qinghan didn't look at him again, but turned to Elder Wang, her voice becoming increasingly cold. As for him injuring a fellow disciple. Zhao Feng disregarded sect rules, shouting loudly on my Qinghan Peak, and even intended to attack my disciple. Chun Yuan only acted in self-defense. What is his fault? It's you, Elder Wang. As an elder of the disciplinary hall, you didn't ask for the truth, believing only one side of the story, and wanted to use private punishment on my personal disciple. What is your crime? Elder Wang instantly broke out in cold sweat. He knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. Sect leader, spare me. This subordinate knows his mistake. This subordinate knows his mistake. The surrounding disciples didn't even dare to breathe loudly, their heads buried low, afraid of being noticed by the sect leader. Awesome. Watching these snobs kneel is just awesome. I stood behind Lin Qinghan, watching the scene before me, secretly laughing in my heart. I knew she was protecting me, even more so, protecting herself. After all, if the news got out that she was bullied by her own disciple, she wouldn't be able to continue being sect leader. We are now in the same boat. Get out. Lin Qinghan uttered a single word. Elder Wang was pardoned as if receiving amnesty, scrambling away with a group of people. Zhao Feng was still kneeling on the ground, his face ashen. Until he was dragged away, he still looked incredulous. Qinghan Peak returned to tranquility once again. Lin Qinghan turned around and walked back into the hall. I followed. The door banged closed behind me. The next second, a fragrant breeze rushed towards me. Slap! A crisp and loud slap landed heavily on my face. It burned with pain. Half of my face instantly swelled up. But I didn't dodge. I just quietly looked at her chest heaving violently with anger, and those eyes burning with raging flames. Chun Yuan, are you satisfied? Her voice was squeezed out from between her teeth. Now the entire sect thinks that we. She was so angry that she couldn't speak. We what? We're having an affair. No, we're already having an affair. I touched my burning cheek and said softly, Master, whether you break his leg first or I cripple his hand first, the result is the same. Letting him complain and letting you clarify is the best solution. Lin Qinghan was choked speechless by me. She discovered that overnight, this disciple who had been submissive and compliant in front of her for 10 years had become so unfamiliar, so terrifying. It was as if he had calculated everything, including her reaction. Why did you do that? She took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down, looking at me with a complicated expression. Just because I scolded you a few times? No. I shook my head, looked directly into her eyes, and said with utmost seriousness, because I like you. Lin Qinghan's body trembled almost imperceptibly. From the first day, 10 years ago, when I became your disciple, I've liked you. I've been cultivating desperately, hoping that one day I can be worthy of you. But the more I like you, the heavier my inner demon becomes, and the more my cultivation stagnates. I've fallen into a vicious cycle. Until yesterday, you awakened me. I confessed everything, including my morbid love and the inner demon born from it. In the world of cultivation, it's not uncommon for people to develop inner demons due to love, leading to stalled cultivation or even demonic deviation. My reason was absurd, yet logically sound. Lin Qinghan listened and didn't speak for a long time. The anger on her face was gradually replaced by a kind of unspeakable shock and confusion. She never imagined that her most despised, good-for-nothing disciple harbored such rebellious feelings for her. Even more unimaginable was that his 10 years of stagnant cultivation stemmed from herself. So, you did such a beastly thing to me in order to eliminate your inner demon. Her voice was dry. Yes, I nodded. The inner demon has been eliminated, and my Tao heart is clear. A powerful aura burst out of my body uncontrollably. Foundation establishment, early stage, mid-stage, late stage. Golden core. The bottleneck that hadn't budged for 10 years is shattered at this moment. My cultivation, in just a few breaths, soared from a half-baked foundation establishment, early stage, to golden core, early stage. Lin Qinghan's pupils shrank sharply, her face full of horror. She could clearly feel that the spiritual energy within me was pure, powerful, and my foundation was extremely solid, not at all like someone who had just broken through. This meant that I hadn't been idle for the past 10 years, but had been accumulating frantically, only to be stuck by the inner demon. Now that the inner demon was broken, accumulation erupted, soaring into the sky. You actually. She looked at me, her eyes filled with not only shock, but also a hint of something different that she herself hadn't noticed. This disciple, who had always been regarded as a waste, turned out to be a peerless genius delayed by an inner demon. The sect's once a decade, asking the Tao Grand Competition, is about to begin. This is the grandest event in the entire Xintian sect. All inner disciples will participate, competing for rankings and winning generous rewards. As soon as the news came out, the entire sect was in an uproar, and I have become the latest joke in the sect. Have you heard? That Chen Yuan is also participating in this competition. Which Chen Yuan? Oh, the sect leader's good-for-nothing disciple. Is he crazy? A foundation establishment, early-stage trash, is just asking for a beating up there, right? Who isn't saying that? I heard that he recently had a lucky break and was released from confinement by the sect leader and doesn't have to reflect on the back mountain anymore. TCH, so what? Trash is still trash, just relying on the sect leader's favor. When he really gets on the ring, he'll be crying. Various rumors spread like wildfire, especially my good senior brother, Zhao Feng, who openly ridiculed me on various occasions. Chen Yuan? Just a soft rice man relying on the protection of his master. A real man should compete on the ring. I will personally tear off his hypocritical mask at the competition and let everyone see his true face. I ignored all of this. I just stayed on Qinghan Peak every day, serving my good master while consolidating my newly broken through realm. Lin Qinghan ignored me, but didn't drive me away again. The binding immortal ropes effect had long since passed, but she didn't attack me. A strange balance had formed between us. She didn't say it, and I didn't mention it. She kept a cold face, and I cheekily went up to her with a smile. Wife, have some tea. Get out. Wife, try the osmanthus cake I just made. Take it away. Wife, the weather is nice today. Should I carry you out to bask in the sun? Chen Yuan, do you want to die? Although she killed me 10,000 times a day with her eyes, I enjoyed it. A thick face is enough to eat. The ancients were not lying to me. Finally, the day of the grand competition arrived. The enormous arena at the center of the sect was packed with people. I followed behind Lin Qinghan and appeared on the sect leader's exclusive viewing platform. My appearance immediately attracted countless gazes, some curious, some scornful, some mocking. Zhao Feng was there too. He stood at the very front of the disciples' seating area. When he saw me, a flash of resentment appeared in his eyes, followed by a throat-slitting gesture. Idiot! I simply ignored him. The grand competition began, drawing lots, then matches. Soon it was my turn. My opponent was an inner sect disciple at the late stage of Foundation establishment. Seeing that it was me, his face immediately lit up with joy. Junior Brother Chun, please enlighten me. He was polite in his words, but the contempt in his eyes was unconcealed. Laughter erupted from below the stage. Ha ha! Senior Brotherly is so lucky to draw this pushover. One move. I bet Senior Brother Lee can take him down in one move. Even the elders on the viewing platform had expressions of amusement on their faces. Only Lin Qinghan remained expressionless. No one could tell what she was thinking. I stepped onto the stage and looked at Senior Brotherly across from me. Can we begin? I asked. Of course. Junior Brother Chun, Senior Brother won't hold back. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately activated his spiritual power and threw a punch at me. The force of the punch whistled, its momentum terrifying. The crowd below seemed to already be picturing me being knocked flying. However, I just stood there quietly until the fist was about to hit me. Only then did I slowly raise my hand. Then I slapped him. Slap! A crisp, loud sound echoed throughout the entire arena. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. All the laughter and discussion came to an abrupt halt. Thousands of gazes in the arena were fixed on the stage. The Senior Brother, Lee, who had been so imposing a moment ago, now looked like a kite with a broken string, spinning 720 degrees in the air before crashing heavily to the ground below. Half his face was swollen high, and he spat out a mouthful of teeth mixed with blood. After struggling for a moment, he passed out. One move. No, not even one move. Just an ordinary slap. An elite inner sect disciple at the late stage of Foundation establishment had been knocked unconscious by a slap from the rumored waist. The entire arena was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone's mouths were agape, their eyes bulging as if they had witnessed a miracle. I didn't see wrong, did I? What happened? Senior Brotherly. Lost just like that. That Qin Yuan. Isn't he at the early stage of Foundation establishment? How is this possible? After a brief silence, a deafening uproar erupted. The entire arena was in complete chaos. On the viewing platform, the elders who had been chatting and laughing were now like ducks with their necks squeezed, their expressions frozen on their faces, looking incredibly comical. The smug smile on Zhao Feng's face had frozen into an ice sculpture. He stared at me, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Golden Core Stage. Enforcement Elder Wang Elder exclaimed in a trembling voice. He's actually at the Golden Core Stage. These words caused another collective gasp. Golden Core Stage. This useless disciple was actually at the Golden Core Stage. How old was he? In his early 20s. A Golden Core Stage cultivator in his early 20s was a rare genius, even in the entire cultivation world. Countless gazes instantly focused on me. Shock, astonishment, fear, awe. I stood on the stage, feeling these gazes, my heart calm. This is just the beginning. I turned my head and looked towards the highest point of the viewing platform. Lin Qinghan was still sitting upright, her face hidden behind a veil, making it impossible to see her expression. But in those eyes that were exposed, a monstrous wave was surging. She was more shocked than anyone else, because only she knew that just a few days ago, I was still a waste at the early stage of Foundation establishment, advancing through several stages in just a few days, reaching the Golden Core Stage. How is this possible? Could it really be because of... An absurd thought uncontrollably surfaced in her mind, causing her cheeks to instantly burn. I withdrew my gaze and said to the referee disciple, who was still stunned, "Can the result be announced?" Oh, yes. The referee woke up as if from a dream and hurriedly shouted at the top of his voice, "This match, Qin Yuan of Qinghan Peak wins." I turned around and walked off the stage. The crowd parted like a tide as I passed, everyone looking at me with the eyes one reserves for monsters, no longer daring to show the slightest contempt. I returned to the viewing platform and stood in place behind Lin Qinghan. "Master," I said softly, "did I embarrass you?" Lin Qinghan's body stiffened, but she did not speak. Only her hand, resting on the armrest, tightened unconsciously. The subsequent matches became a complete farce. Or rather, they became my personal showcase. My opponents, whether at the late stage of foundation establishment or at the half-step golden core stage, or even at the same golden core stage as me, without exception, it was all a matter of one slap. If one slap couldn't solve it, then two would. The entire arena went from initial shock to numbness, and finally to only awe and fear. Monster. He's a monster. What's the point of fighting? We're not even on the same level. When did Qinghan Peak produce such a freak? Waste? If anyone dares to call senior brother Chen a waste again, I'll be the first to fight them. Public opinion reversed by 180 degrees. I became the person no disciple dared to provoke. Finally, the final round arrived. My opponent, unsurprisingly, was the champion of the previous grand competition and the biggest favorite to win this time, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's face was extremely unsightly. He never expected that the waste he wanted to trample underfoot had transformed into someone he had to look up to. He stood on the stage, looking at me as I walked towards him, his eyes complex, filled with jealousy, unwillingness, and deep fear. I can see. The moment the referee announced the start, Zhao Feng practically shouted these three words. He didn't have the courage to fight. Seriously, even the elder disciple at the early stage of Golden Core had been slapped away. Wouldn't he be courting death by going up there at the half-step Golden Core stage? The entire arena erupted in another uproar. But this time, no one laughed at him. Everyone felt that this was the wisest choice. I was a little disappointed. I still wanted to beat your ugly face into a pig's head in front of everyone. How boring. I shook my head and turned to go down the stage. Wait. Zhao Feng suddenly stopped me. His fists were clenched tightly, his nails digging into his flesh, staring at me intently. He gritted his teeth and asked, Chen Yuan, I only want to know one thing. How did you do it? You clearly haven't progressed in 10 years of cultivation. Why would you suddenly? This was also the question in everyone's mind. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my answer. I stopped, turned around, and glanced at him, then looked at Lin Qinghan on the viewing platform. I smiled. I said loudly to the thousands of disciples present, because I had an epiphany. I understand that cultivating immortality and seeking the Tao is about seeking one's true heart, seeking clarity of thought. In the past, I was timid and restrained, suppressing my nature, so my cultivation stagnated. Now that I understand my true heart and act as I please, I naturally progress by leaps and bounds. Speaking of which, I paused, my gaze burning as I looked at Lin Qinghan, my voice raised another octave. If I love someone, I want her to know. If I love someone, I want to be with her day and night. Even if she is the lofty sun and moon, I will pluck her down and hold her in my arms. This is my Tao. My words were like a heavy bomb exploding in the crowd. Everyone went crazy. This is a public confession. Who is he confessing to? The lofty sun and moon. Everyone's gaze involuntarily turned to the highest point of the viewing platform, to that peerless and independent white figure. Who else could be the sun and moon of the Xiantian sect other than sect leader Lin Qinghan? This Chen Yuan, he actually dared to covet his own master. Madness. This world has completely gone mad. Zhao Feng stood there dumbfounded, as if struck by lightning. The elders were stunned, as if petrified. And me, under the shocked gazes of everyone, walked step by step back to the viewing platform and stopped in front of Lin Qinghan. Under the gaze of thousands of eyes, I slowly knelt on one knee before that slightly trembling figure. Master, this disciple has loved you for 10 years. Are you willing to give this disciple a chance? Silence. The whole world seemed to have been put on pause. The wind stopped, the clouds stopped, and everyone's breathing stopped. Thousands of gazes converged on the viewing platform, on the kneeling youth and the white-clothed woman sitting motionless. To deceive one's master and betray one's ancestors. Utterly rebellious. Only these 8 words remained in everyone's mind. They never dreamed that the final of the Tao-seeking competition would end in such a shocking way. The newly emerged peerless genius, in front of the entire sect, professed his love to his master, the sect leader of the Xiantian sect. This isn't just madness, this is insanity. The elders on the viewing platform were pale, wanting to reprimand, but afraid to speak. Just kidding. Who would dare provoke a freak who can slap a golden core cultivator away? What's more, this is the sect leader's family matter, and they are even more afraid to intervene. Zhao Feng slumped on the arena, his face ashen. He finally understood. What enlightenment? What clarity of thought? It's all bullshit. Chen Yuan, this madman, his goal from beginning to end was the master. The protection he thought he had, the love he thought he had, was not what he thought at all. He was finished. He not only lost the competition, but he lost miserably, becoming a complete joke. At this moment, Lin Qinghan, at the center of the storm, was trembling uncontrollably. Under the veil, that exquisite face had long lost its color, pale as death. She wanted to kill this rebellious disciple in front of her, kill him with one palm. However, she couldn't. She could feel that Chen Yuan, kneeling there, seemingly respectful, but his whole body's qi had locked on her. It was a warning, a silent threat. Reject me. You can. Then I will expose all the good things between us in front of the entire sect. At that time, we will both be discredited. Let's see who is more ashamed. This madman. This complete madman. Lin Qinghan's fingernails pierced deeply into the ice crystal armrest, leaving several clear marks. She was fighting a battle within herself. Reason told her that she should immediately take action, clean up the sect, and maintain the dignity of the sect and herself. But she looked at the kneeling youth in front of her at his burning, obsessive, and slightly pleading eyes. 10 years of love. 10 years of inner demons. Just because of her unintentional words, he had done such a earth-shattering thing. What is this? How infatuated, how crazy. Time passed, second by second. Every second felt like a century. Just when everyone thought that the sect leader would be furious and unleash her thunderous power, Lin Qinghan slowly stood up. She didn't speak, but simply extended a hand. A hand that was slightly trembling, but still fair as jade. A sound of gasps filled the entire venue. I smiled. I knew I had won the bet. I grasped that slightly cool hand, using the force to stand up, and stood side by side with her. I didn't speak, but simply held her hand even tighter. Lin Qinghan's body stiffened again, but ultimately, she did not break free. She turned around, faced the thousands of disciples and elders below the stage who were already petrified, and announced in a cold voice, with an unprecedented, somewhat complicated emotion. From today onwards, Chen Yuan will be the young sect leader of my Xiantian sect. If my previous confession was a bomb, then Lin Qinghan's words were a tribulation. Young sect leader, Chen Yuan became the young sect leader of the Xiantian sect. What did that mean? It meant that the sect leader had acquiesced. Even she accepted it. The entire Xiantian sect had completely gone mad. Everyone felt their worldview had been overturned, shattered, and then trampled underfoot. A love affair between master and disciple was already a taboo. Now, not only was there no punishment, but instead they were elevated in one step to become the sect's heir. Is there still justice? Is there still law? But no one dared to say a word of no, because this was announced by the sect master herself, and also because that newly promoted young sect master was as strong as a monster. Just as the entire sect was still in a state of great shock, unable to recover, a sudden change occurred. A black, demonic energy, like a pillar reaching the sky, suddenly soared from the back mountain of the Xiantian sect. A terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the entire sect. Yeah. A grating, bone-chilling laughter resounded through the clouds. Lin Qinghan, it's been a century. How have you been? Today is the day of your Xiantian sect's demise. A black shadow appeared at the top of the demonic energy, It was an old man with a withered face and blood-red eyes, exuding a nauseating aura of evil. It's the blood demon ancestor who was suppressed by the sect master 100 years ago. An elder recognized the person and was scared out of his wits. How did he break the seal? Lin Qinghan's face instantly became extremely grave. Blood demon. She never imagined that this old demon, personally suppressed by her in the forbidden area of the back mountain, would break free at this time. Lin Qinghan, you didn't expect this, did you? The blood demon ancestor laughed wildly. I not only escaped, but my cultivation has greatly improved. Today, I will wash your Xiantian sect in blood, refine you into my demon slave, and play with you day and night. Yeah. His gaze swept across the scene and saw me standing shoulder to shoulder with Lin Qinghan, a lewd glint flashing in his eyes. Oh, there's a pretty boy here. Not bad looking, perfect. I'll kill you together to entertain this old ancestor. Before he finished speaking, a huge demonic claw descended from the sky, bringing with it the might of destroying the heavens and extinguishing the earth, grabbing towards me and Lin Qinghan. Not good. Lin Qinghan's face changed drastically, and she was about to attack. But a hand pressed on her shoulder. It was my hand. Wife, don't move. I looked at her and smiled slightly. This kind of trash doesn't need you to take action. Why use a bull cleaver to kill a chicken? In Lin Qinghan's shocked gaze, I slowly took a step forward. Facing that sky-covering demonic claw, I neither drew my sword nor activated any cultivation technique. I just raised my head, looked at the blood demon ancestor in the sky, and lightly uttered a single word. Scram. The voice was not loud, but it seemed to contain some kind of heavenly principle that what you say becomes law. The huge demonic claw, when it was still 100 meters above our heads, suddenly paused, and then, like ice and snow illuminated by sunlight, melted inch by inch and turned into nothingness. The blood demon ancestor in the sky was as if struck by a heavy blow, spitting out a large mouthful of black blood, his aura instantly weakening. The arrogant laughter on his face solidified into extreme fear and disbelief. You, who the hell are you? You're not a golden core. This is word law from the transformation God realm. He screamed in terror, turned around, and was about to transform into demonic energy to escape. Did I let you leave? I spoke again. The voice was still calm. But the blood demon ancestor, who was about to escape, suddenly froze, as if fixed in the air by an invisible force, unable to move. Then, in the horrified gaze of thousands of people in the entire sect, his body, starting from his feet, inch by inch, turned into ashes. He didn't even manage to let out a scream. A nascent soul-stage old demon who had wreaked havoc for a century just was killed by 2 sentences. I clapped my hands as if I had just done a trivial thing. Then I turned around, and in the deathly silence of the entire scene, I held Lin Qinghan's cold and soft hand again. I looked at her pair of beautiful, glazed eyes, wide with extreme shock, and smiled again. Now, does anyone still think that I am not worthy of you? No one anymore. If my previous display of golden core strength was genius, then now what I have shown is a miracle. Word law, obliterating a nascent soul. This was a method only available to transformation god experts. In the entire Xiantian sect, in the entire Eastern continent, no transformation god had appeared in thousands of years. And I, a young man in my early 20s, actually, everyone was no longer able to think. They just instinctively looked at me with a gaze that revered the gods. Worship fanaticism. The elders knelt all over the ground, their bodies shaking like sieves. The disciples prostrated themselves on the ground, wishing they could bury their heads in the earth. Zhao Feng had completely fainted from fright, foaming at the mouth and unconscious. And Lin Qinghan in front of me was also in a state of great shock. She stared blankly at me, her clear and cold face full of confusion and bewilderment, like a lost child. Transformation God. This disciple, whom she watched grow up, was actually a transformation god. How much had he hidden? Scared silly, right? That's right. If I don't give you a little shock, how will you obediently listen? I held her hand and used a little force. She woke up as if from a dream. Her body trembled, and she subconsciously wanted to pull her hand back. But I didn't let her. In front of everyone, I brought her hand to my lips and kissed it gently. Suppressed exclamations rang out from below the stage. Lin Qinghan's face turned completely red in an instant. From her cheeks to her neck to the roots of her ears, nothing was spared. That look of shame and anger mixed with powerlessness to resist made my heart burn. From today onwards, you are not my master. I stared into her eyes and said each word clearly. Lin Qinghan's eyes dimmed. You thought I was going to dump you? Naive. You are Chun Yuan's Dao companion. The only Dao companion. I announced domineeringly. Lin Qinghan's body froze again. She looked at my deep and burning eyes, her mind blank. Resist. What to resist with? Using her Yuan Ing stage cultivation to resist a transformation god expert. What's more, her heart, at this moment, was a mess. A complete and utter mess. This rebellious disciple, this madman, this ungrateful traitor, he actually wasn't so hateful. At least, in the moment he shielded her from the demonic claws, in the moment she was held in his embrace. Her heart beat very fast. Qinghan, I changed my form of address. Her body trembled again. Are you willing? I asked softly. Although it was a question, the undeniable tone was clear to everyone. Lin Qinghan bit her lower lip, silent for a long time. Finally, under the gaze of thousands of people from the entire sect, she slowly, almost imperceptibly, nodded. That moment, I smiled. Smiled like a child who had received all the candy in the world. Below the stage, a tsunami of cheers erupted instantly. Congratulations to the young sect leader. Congratulations to the sect leader. The young sect leader and the sect leader are a match made in heaven. May their path to immortality be forever secure. The opportunists, their ability to change with the wind, was always first-rate. Qinghan peaked within the sleeping quarters. Red candles flickered, the atmosphere ambiguous. Lin Qinghan sat by the bed, having changed out of her white robes and put on a fiery red wedding dress that I had prepared for her. That cold and beautiful face, illuminated by the wedding dress and candlelight, held an extra hint of breathtaking charm. She seemed a little nervous, her hands twisting the corner of her clothes anxiously, not daring to look at me. You? Who exactly are you? Didn't I say? I walked over to her and sat down, naturally pulling her into my arms. I am your Dao companion, Chun Yuan. Her body stiffened in my arms, but she didn't struggle. You know, that's not what I'm asking, she said in a muffled voice. Transformation God. When did you? A long time ago, I said casually. Then why? Why pretend to be useless and even become your disciple? I finished her sentence. She nodded, raised her head, her eyes like glazed glass, full of curiosity. I looked at her, smiled, and gently pinched her nose. Because I was waiting for an opportunity to bring you home. If I had appeared as a transformation god expert from the beginning, you would definitely have kept your distance. So how could I pursue you? So I could only use this clumsy method. I told her slowly how 10 years ago, when I first saw her, I was struck by her heavenly beauty, how I fell in love at first sight, and how I suppressed my cultivation to join the sect in order to get close to her. Of course, 9 parts of it were true, 1 part false. For example, I actually didn't suppress my cultivation to pursue her, but rather I was a freak of nature, born in the transformation god stage, but with an unstable state of mind, needing to find an anchor point to stabilize my Dao heart. And she was the anchor I chose. However, there was no need to tell her these things. A benevolent lie sometimes is the lubricant of emotions. Lin Qinghan listened, stunned, her beautiful eyes widening more and more. She never imagined that behind all this, there was such a legendary story of infatuation. So, he had been plotting against me since 10 years ago. In her heart, She was both angry and amused, and also a trace of an indescribable sweetness. So what you did to me, was that also planned? She asked, her face flushed in a soft voice. That was an accident, I said sincerely. I originally planned to cook a frog in warm water and wait another 10 or 8 years. Who told you to enlighten me that day? Say if you like it, go for it. Lin Xinghan's face flushed red from being choked by me, and she couldn't say a word. So it was my own fault. Looking at her cute appearance of both shame and anger, I couldn't resist any longer and lower my head to kiss her. She struggled symbolically for a moment, then went limp in my arms. Outside the window, the moonlight was perfect. Inside the window, spring was boundless. My Tao heart, at this moment, was more fulfilled than ever before. Wife acquired.